What we're trying to do today is show you that although many people understand the main benefits of PIM, product information management, of being in providing a sort of a consolidated repository for product data, and also reducing the proliferation of spreadsheets and other things used in businesses to manage that sort of data. We wanted to focus on how product information management can assist in building collaboration with your suppliers and also enhancing the flow of the processes through the business to help with efficiency and accuracy of information and being less chaotic, really. So 3 areas I wanted to focus on is in enhancing the communication with your suppliers and the collaboration with your suppliers, using workflow processes to pass information around the business, which can help reduce the overall time to market for your products and also ensure higher quality information. And then also a related subject in terms of why having your own and unique information is crucial to get market differentiation, particularly in the world of online. So the way we want to illustrate this is just taking a look at how businesses typically manage their product launch process. So this starts from conception, where somebody has a good idea, and that's usually handled by a buying team or a buying admin team who will collect information from various sources and then publish that to your various systems or to the website where that information is needed. So in order to do that, the buying teams would typically collate information from a variety of sources, such as the suppliers, other brands, other brand sources, manufacturers, maybe industry data sources such as Eridus and the like, but also from people within the business. So, for example, they may be getting replenishment rules and information from the stock management team. The warehouse guys may be providing information on things like default stock locations, and the marketing team may be providing kind of customer-facing descriptions and imagery and product hierarchy and groups and things of that nature. So we find that the buying team will use a variety of methods to do that, everything from phone calls through to the exchange of spreadsheet forms and emails and documents and this kind of thing, both to the suppliers and to their internal contributors. But what I can do is make the process very complex with all this documentation flying around. It can become quite chaotic to manage that and make sure that the products are put through and collected in a timely way. And this is one of the biggest areas that we wanted to kind of focus on today. So let's start looking at the relationship with suppliers and what we can do to help improve that. So we can actually start thinking about extending the internal systems out to the supplier. So the supplier can directly interact with the system through specialist or specially designed user interfaces and tools through a secure online portal. So instead of suppliers sending you information that is then maybe keyed in or uploaded by the buying team, they can do that directly themselves. So what we're doing here is we're enhancing the communication, we're reducing errors because the supplier can enter in directly, and we can also use this as a messaging system so that if we're looking for the supplier to provide information on a particular product, we can actually do that request through the portal, so we're not exchanging lots of information. So what I'm going to do is just hand over to my colleague Ian, who will actually just illustrate this through the use of our particular PIM system, so we can see how this works.
Okay, thanks Andy. PIM is a browser-based application enabling access from any device and in any location. So when you log into the PIM system as a supplier, as I am now, you see a restricted view of the application. So up in the top left, we've got access to the activity dashboard, and I'll explain more about that in a moment or two. We can view and edit products that you're the supplier of. and you can import one or more products from an external file, such as a spreadsheet or a user-defined CSV file. So the default view on logging in is the activity dashboard, which you can see now, and this shows you a summary of the things that need attention. So we've got the latest product drafts here. That shows you products that you're currently working on, but they're not at a status that's being sort of pushed through for approval as a live product yet. The next bit down shows us products that are pending approval. So this is any products that I am happy with, that I think are complete, and I've posted through for approval by the buying team or the buyer. And then underneath that, we can see the product rejections, and that's a list of any products that have been rejected with the changes that I've made. So the buying team or the buyer have rejected the changes there. And then just down at the bottom, we have a list of the last operations. So that will show you any, if you've used any of the import template, for example, that will show you any import actions that you've used there. Depending on your processes, the supplier can create new products from scratch, or they can complete the details of products that you create for them and you set the product code on. So, for example, you can use the import facility here. If you just go to the imports page, you can see that we have a standard product template import profile. And what I can do with that is I can fill in the details of one product or many products, 100, 200, 300 or more products, and then I can batch update, upload them in one go. The alternative is to edit the data manually. So if I go back to the activity dashboard and then I go in and view one of my product draft products. So we've got Biona organic coconut oil here. So what you can do is you can make any changes that you like to any of the data, any of the attributes that you see here, and then you can just hit the save button up in the top right to just save that file and carry on working on it. We'll come back to it later. So what I'd like to do on this product is I want to add a product image and then submit the product for approval. So in order to find the image attribute, what I can do is I can just filter the view on what we call an attribute group, which is just a group of related attributes. So if I go to the filter on marketing group, you can see here that we've got the product image, consumer description and product details. So from here, I can actually upload a product image if I want to. So I'll just upload that one now. There we go, that's come in there. So at this point, I could save the file, save the product and come back later, or I can indeed click the submit for approval button. So what that's actually done now is that's passed the product along a predefined workflow, and in this case, it's gone to the buying team who can review the data and then approve or reject my change. So I'm going to hand you back to Andy, and Andy's going to introduce you to the concept of automation through the use of workflow.
Okay, thanks, Ian. So let's just go back to presentation. So what we'd like to do now is just move it on and show you how the workflow can be used to handle the flow of that product through the business from the supplier. So the supplier has completed the base details in this case, and that's now been passed to the buying team who can then move it on as they wish. And one of the tools we use for this is workflow. So workflow allows you to model your business processes, and because each business is different, then the system allows you to create your own workflow so that it will handle your process in the desired way. So as an example of the kind of workflows we can set up here, if the supplier submits a product, for example, then the system can change the ownership of the product to the buyer, so it appears on the buyer's desktop. It can also change the status of the product to pending approval, so the buyer has that on their to-do list. When the buyer approves a product, then maybe you want to send a message to the merchandising team, and maybe to the warehousing team, and maybe to the marketing team, so that they know that they've got a product on which they need to add further details on. Well, another example is if there's a change to, say, a product. So somebody may update a weight or something of that nature, and the warehouse manager would need to know about that so they can reassess maybe which warehousing location they put that product in. So this can be automated through the workflow system. The final example is where a product is finally approved and released to the website or wherever it goes to. And in this case, you could use it to send a message to your sales team to let them know that there's been a new product released. So let's hand back to Ian, and Ian will show you how the workflow manifests itself and some of the applications of it.
Okay, thanks, Andy. So this time we're logged into the system as a super user. So that allows me to configure the PIMS workflows. So you're currently seeing the workflow configuration screen here, and that shows the workflows we have in the system and whether they are enabled or not. So we've got a couple of workflows set up. One of them is disabled. That's the approval process for the accounts team internally. The one I do have enabled is the approval process for external suppliers using the system. So if I edit the workflow, we can see some basic summary information, the name of the workflow and the description of it. A bit more interesting is the triggers down at the bottom here. So a workflow operates by a trigger firing, and then what we do is we check a condition, and if that condition is true, it could be multiple conditions, if true, then we'll take one or more actions. So let me illustrate that by showing you the supplier approval workflow on the details tab. So this particular workflow is triggered when the version changes, and that is the version will change from a draft product to awaiting approval, or it can be rejected. So what you can see in here is that when the version of a product changes, we check a condition here, and the condition is that if the new value of the version equals awaiting approval, so if that's true, then we drop down into the actions for the condition. The first thing that we do is we change the owner to the buyer. So there we go, we change that user to the buyer user, and then what we do is we send out an email. So we send an email to the owner of the product record. So having just changed that to the buyer user, this email will be sent to the buyer, and then we've got a relevant subject and body. And in the email subject and body, we can actually insert any values of any of the attributes. So, for example, we're using the product description here in this case. So the first condition is a check to see whether the product is awaiting approval. But we also check to see if the version equals reject. So if it's been rejected by the buyer, then it drops down into this, the actions here for this part of the condition. And we change the owner back to the supplier. You can just see there, slightly larger text. We change it to the supplier, and we send an email out. So again, we can send it to the owner of the product, but this time we've just changed the owner of the product to be the supplier, and then we give a suitable message saying that the product change is being rejected. So just to show you how that works in reality, what I need to do now is just log out from this super user account, and then I can log in as the buyer. So just log in as the buyer. So if you recall, when I showed you the supplier portal, I actually submitted a product through for approval. So the Biona organic coconut oil, I added a product image to. I submitted that for approval. So now I'm logged in as the buyer. You can actually see that the product that I submitted for approval has appeared on the buyer's pending approval list. So from here, the buyer knows that there's a new product to check, can go in and edit the product, make any further changes that they may wish to. If we have any further workflows set up, we can actually funnel that to a different department, marketing, for example. And then we've also got the option to publish the product or reject the changes. So after review, the buyer could approve the changes, publish the product, and if they do that, then the product will be sent back out to the various channels. It might be the e-commerce site, or it might be the back-end ERP. So I'll publish this product, happy with the changes, and I'll pass you back over to Andy to tell you about the product lifecycle.
Okay, thanks, Ian. So a product could be in a number of states, from being conceived through to being live and then finally retired. A common issue faced in the collection build-up of product data is that the information comes through like bits of a jigsaw, so building up the complete picture. So collecting this information without exposing it on the website or on the ERP system before it's complete can be a bit of an issue. So all we can do is use product statuses, whereby a draft product record can be created and then information added to it over time without it being sort of published and available to the general users. In addition to that, we can use version controls. So where there's changes to the products, they can be effectively captured and managed through the same kind of approval and workflow processes. So if a supplier updates a particular piece of information, it's still subject to, for example, a buyer review and approval, and then reviewed by anybody else who might be impacted by that change. So just have a quick look at that on the PIM system.
Okay, so if we come back to our PIM session where we're logged in as a buyer, what I'll do here is I'll go to the main products page. So from here, this shows me a list of all the products that we have in the PIM system. So if we look at this list of products, we got a column here for the version, and you can see a variety of different products at different with different versions. So this product here, for example, has been published now. That was what you saw me do a few moments ago with that last approval acceptance. A product that's not been submitted for approval is in a draft state. So at the moment, it only exists within the PIM system. It doesn't exist in any of the channels. And then we've got also a couple of other statuses. We've got awaiting approval. So again, that only exists in the PIM, but this is at a stage where we think we can either approve the product to go live, or we can reject the changes. And then you can also see any products that have had changes rejected for them. So once we go into a product, if I have a quick look at this, let's have a look at this draft product here. And what I can actually do is I can have a look at the history. So this is for the auditing. As Andy mentioned, what we can do is we can see all of the change history and the audit for this particular product. So going right back to the first change to it, that was when I first created the product. So if I just open that out, you can see that the old values of a lot of the attributes were blank, and then I've actually entered some new data in there. And then you do have a complete history of all the changes that have been done to this particular product over the time it's been created in the PIM system. So effectively, with the audit history, we can see who changed the attributes, we can see when they were changed, and we can see what was changed and what the old value was, and we can see what the new value was as well. So I'll hand you back over to Andy now to explain data management and completeness.
Okay, thanks, Ian. One of the attractions of a product information management system generally is to consolidate information from what's typically put in various systems. So most people have to maintain data in an ERP system, in maybe spreadsheets or separate databases or in file systems. A product information management system can centralize all that to make it more simple and put all the information in one place. One of the benefits of this is that it improves the transparency on reporting, so that you can see things like how complete the data is on the product set. We can see the activities on the products in terms of where it's up to, what's been happening. But then, as Ian's shown, we can see a complete audit history across every single attribute of the product. So this means that you can get a much clearer picture, focus efforts on what's required, and understand exactly where the products are. So if we go back to PIM system, we can see how we can use completeness in particular to help manage the process through.
Thanks, Andy. Okay, so if we go back to the list of products in the system again, you can see here we've got another column which is the completeness status. So by and large, you'd like all your products to be at 100% completion, but it is possible that some of your products are not complete. So if I drill down into one of the products, go back into my draft, what we can see up at the top here in the summary section at the top of the page is that for the currently selected channel, so on my PIM system here, I have an ERP channel and an e-commerce channel. So for my e-commerce channel, I have set all of the fields for this particular product. If I change that to my ERP channel, I do have more fields that I need to send over to my ERP system as opposed to my e-commerce system. So I have more fields that I need to complete in order to have a full completion percentage. So what you'll notice is that where I've not got a complete, I'll just change over to the attributes, sorry there, just to give you an alternative look. So what I can see here is that there's 8 missing attributes that are required. I've got that list of 8 from the drop down, but what I can do is if I click the alert text that's telling me that I've got missing attributes, what that's done is that has changed the filter to display all the missing required attributes. So I only effectively I'm just filtering on the items that I need to add some data for. So once I populate these fields with data, save the product, you will see that the missing required attributes value decreases. So if I just put a consumer description in there and hit save, we should actually go down to 7 missing attributes, and the consumer description field that I just filled in disappears. We can also see a summary of completeness across all the channels. So if I go to the completeness tab here, I can see that for my ERP channel, I'm only 53% complete, but for my e-commerce, I'm 100% complete. So that if you've got any other channels, they would also show in the summary section too. Okay, so I'll hand you back over to Andy now, and then he's going to discuss content.
So now we're just going to talk about how important content is to businesses in this day and age, and why having differential content is important. So it's clearly key to have sufficient information to run the business, but it also affects how successful you are in terms of attracting and retaining customers. So first of all, having quality data does create just more of a professional image with your customers. So having complete and detailed information that reflects on your kind of image. Having unique content also helps with search engine relevance. So Google and the like will score based on original content rather than just replication of content that you may find across your competitor sites for similar products. So really trying to add value to the content over and above is key to getting yourselves up the rankings list. It can also make you a definitive source of market information. So customers will come to you because they know that you've got the most complete set of data, and when they're coming to you to do research, they're more likely to convert into revenue for you. This is particularly important as buyers are increasingly moving to online resources to research. So if they're looking for new products and ranges, they're more likely to go online first and foremost. And finally, it's about creating engaging and compelling content for your customers so that they are attracted to and remain on your website. So imagery, good descriptions, attributes, and all the rest of it are very key to that. So that completes our session today. We hope you found it useful. We'd be delighted to hear from you and get your views on the subject. My contact details can be found on the slide in front of you. We wish you a good afternoon.